Hi, welcome back to the Shrew Review. Today we'll start the discussion of pity and fear. Buckle up. It must excite pity and fear. These are two essential elements of tragedy, as defined by Aristotle in the work Poetics, written sometime before his death in 322 BCE. Sounds like a pretty good place to start, right? Let's start with a slightly paraphrased quote from Aristotle himself. The art form known as tragedy is acting out a serious situation of importance, weight, and of a certain magnitude. A perfect tragedy must excite pity and fear, this being the distinctive mark of tragic action. Pity is evoked by undeserved misfortune, fear by the misfortune of a person like ourselves. Let's begin. 1. So, a lot of people out there want to talk shit about Katherine and how horrible she is at the beginning of the play, and she treats everyone terribly, and she's just a vile, I've actually heard people say, she is a vile human being who needs help. This is unfair because, yeah, Katherine lashes out at the people around her, but they do it first. I don't know why we only see the negative in her behavior and not in the behavior of the men attacking and insulting and assaulting her. Let's just start with the introduction, the entrance. Enter
Baptista
with his 2 daughters,
Katherine
and
Bianca Gremio
a pantaloon
Hortensio
suitor to Bianca,
Lucentio
and
Tranio.
stand by.
Gentlemen, importune me no farther, for how I firmly am resolved, you know, that is, not to bestow my youngest daughter until I have a husband for the elder. If either of you both love Katharina, because I know you will and love you well, leave shall you have to court her at your pleasure. To court her, rather. She's too rough for me.
Let's just pause right there on to cart her. Let's take a look at what to cart her means. Usually a woman, and usually an unruly, unwilling to submit, disobedient, or perhaps not nice to her husband, a scold, as they like to call a shrew. Maybe a woman who was like, hey, jackass, why don't you get off your ass and stop drinking all day and go, milk a cow or something. Any kind of disagreeable person could be carted. So in this edition, this is the William Shakespeare, Taming the Shrew. We'll look at their definition. Cart her. Draw her through the streets, either in or behind an open cart. With a pun on court. Carting was a common punishment for scolds, convicted prostitutes, and witches. they're still not even getting into the essence of what this practice was. So picture like a wheelbarrow or one of those carts. Like I always think of Monty Python, the bring out your dead, and they throw the bodies onto the carts and they're wheeling them through town, like that kind of a wheeled carriagey thing. You would be tied probably by the hands and wrists, possibly tied around the waist as well, tied to this thing while it's run through town. You're running behind it, being whipped, people throwing food, throwing rotten pig slop, whatever, possibly feces. Everyone was just throwing their shit out on the streets anyway. I'm sure people had buckets of poop thrown in their faces. Being publicly humiliated and shamed for being a scold, a woman who speaks her mind and says, you know what, I don't like what you're doing. A convicted sex worker. Let's not forget that there are two people involved in any sex work transaction. Two people involved. And witches. And you know how any woman who was just, again, a little bit out of the ordinary, non-conforming, unmarried, let's not forget that, unmarried, could be accused of being a witch. So immediately, before she has spoken a word, this old ass pantaloon, rich, dirty old man trying to get on her sister, threatens her with this public humiliation and frankly torture of to cart her rather. No, I don't want to marry her. Let's toss her in the back of the cart and throw shit on her. Let's drag her behind this wagon until her feet are bloody and we've whipped her enough times that she stops talking. So, think for a second. How would you feel if this a-hole insulted you that way? Pity! Carting is an undeserved misfortune for the simple crime of speaking one's mind. How can you not feel pity and fear for anyone subjected to that?
I pray you, sir, is it your will to make a whore of me amongst these mates? Mates made? How mean you that? No mates for you, unless you were of gentler, milder mold.